It all goes to show you that it's always something.
And I will not accept the nomination of my party.
Beautiful downtown Burbank.
From the comfort of your couch, television has brought you some incredible things.
Let's be careful out there.
It's allowed you to see the other side of the world. The top of it, and the bottom of it. To walk on a new one.
Boy.
And to boldly go where no man has gone before. From the comfort of your couch, television has put you in the middle of conflict. Debate. Laughter.
That's why I'm not a heterosexual.
And victory. It's entertained you.
Be sure, but beware.
It's bored you.
Both are starting at the same point and going in opposite directions.
TV has seen you cry. It's made you mad. It's watched you sleep. TV has convinced you to buy things you don't need.
Subliminal advertising.
And some you do. It's determined what you wear. What's your hair? And has taught you what to say.
We are two wild and crazy guys.
Very interesting.
From Dallas, Texas.
From the comfort of your couch, TV has affected who you trust and who you don't. It's built heroes, made superstars, and created role models.
I am not a role model.
From the comfort of your couch, you've seen music and heard history.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
TV has launched a revolution.
Close your eyes and thou can see.
And watched a revolution. It's shown you dreams and nightmares. Bad and good. From the comfort of your couch, TV has brought you some incredible things. What you'll see today is no exception. Because today, television will bring you the internet. We won't tell you that TV will never be the same, because it will. It's you who'll be different. Just watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chip Herman, Vice President of Marketing, WebTV Networks Incorporated.
Good morning, and welcome to a truly historic event in television history, the introduction of WebTV Networks and our consumer electronic partners. In addition to greeting you here in the auditorium of the Equitable in New York City, I'd like to welcome those who are joining us on our live satellite feed from San Francisco, as well as our nationwide audio link. We'll be hearing from these folks later in our presentation as they'll participate directly in our Q&A session following the formal event. To get started, I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Perlman, President, CEO, and co-founder of WebTV Networks. Steve?
Hello. Hi. I want to thank you all for coming. I especially want to take a moment to thank everyone in San Francisco for coming at 8 o'clock California time. And the reason we're talking about TV history is that, in our opinion, what we're doing today, that is bringing the internet to a TV, is truly a historical event. And I also want to mention that there was a particular choice of why we did it in both San Francisco and New York. I'm sure you all know who invented the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison. But a lot of people don't know that Philo T. Farnsworth, in 1928, invented the television in San Francisco, actually about a block away from the casting couch where everyone is. And the first the first broadcast of television in the United States occurred in New York City in the late 1940s. So here we are about 50 years later, and What we're really doing is talking about bringing this thing, the internet, which is what we've been hearing about. You see the little www.this.com on TV and so forth. And we're bringing it within the reach of the average person. And the way we're doing it is through our old friend, the television. So if we talk about what makes television such a powerful model, television is the most sophisticated form of broadcasting we have. It's a one-to-many model. So with sufficient amount of resources, you can create content for television, broadcast it, and people throughout the world can see this stuff. It's a great idea. And unfortunately, you can't do the same thing with the internet. The internet is this interconnected thing. It's a many-to-many model. Okay, rather than having one person who's the publisher and everyone listening, the internet can have anyone be a publisher because the cost of publishing now is so low. And not only that, but the internet allows you to reach things immediately. So rather than having to wait for the particular show to be on at the right time, the internet brings it to you as soon as you want it. Unfortunately, though, of course, unlike television, where there's a high cost of broadcasting and then you can receive it on a low-cost set, with the internet, it's still very complex and it's still reasonably expensive to receive something on the internet. About a year ago, when we started this, I was getting together with Phil Goldman and Bruce Leak, my co-founders, and we were looking at the internet. And previously, we've been using the internet for years, and it always had information tailored to people who are scientists, technologists, people in education and medicine, et cetera. And we were seeing things pop up that suddenly were not tailored for this kind of person. We were seeing CampbellSoup.com with meal planning tips. Okay, we were finding Viacom had stuff up there with their shows and MTV and so on. And we said, hey, this is really great. I mean, the internet now is targeting a consumer audience. Trouble, of course, is it's not reaching a consumer audience. The people who are using it, if you look at the demographics, tend to be people who are pretty technically sophisticated, people of pretty significant economic means and so forth. And so this great mythical, if you will, consumer market for the internet simply wasn't emerging. So he said, you know something? If we can go and tie these two mediums together, this TV broadcast medium with a low-cost consumer price point, and we can bring the internet together, it'd be a very, very powerful mover in our society. And in fact, in our view, it could very well be the most important communication medium for the next century. So it's one thing to go and talk about a consumer product. Now, I can tell you, living in Silicon Valley, that there's an awful lot of companies that come out and say, hey, we've got this great hotshot technology, and it's a consumer product, and you should all buy it. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these things are these techno-gearhead things that cost a reasonable amount of money and so forth. They're not consumer products. Consumer products are actually things that are very, very specific. All right? A consumer product is something which has to have a very specific purpose, okay, a specific value. You've got to go and make it so it's easy to use. You've got to make it so it's affordable. All right? If you wanted to watch the Kennedy debates in 1960, all you had to know how to do was turn on the TV and turn to the channel. Okay? If you want to connect to the internet and see something on there, well, okay, you got to know what the URL is. You got to set up the right PPP or SLIP, the right handshake. I mean, do you know what hardware handshaking is? Well, you need to know that if you want to use a high-speed modem. All right, you got to have all the wires hooked up, the internet service provider, you got the right phone number, the lines. It gets to be really complicated. And before all is said and done, if you want a high-performance computer, not a minimal computer, you're talking about a couple $1,000. All right? Simplicity is what it is to turn on a television set. Now, the other thing about utility is if we go and say, OK, here's a product, great, it can let you browse the internet, that doesn't solve a consumer problem. Okay? Telling somebody who's interested in gourmet cooking that here's a device that can help you find recipes throughout the world, that's utility. For someone who's interested in sports, here's a device that can help you find a particular score of a game that just occurred, that's utility. Here's a device that can allow you to sit down with your child and see what the Hubble Space Telescope is looking at tonight, that's utility. And the last thing is affordable. Well, we talked about these high-priced sort of gearhead equipment. TVs are mass-market consumer products. And when you're talking about a mass-market consumer product, you have to be very aware of the fact that everyone does not have an arbitrary budget, okay? And people aren't going to spend a lot of money. And in fact, if people are going to spend that kind of money, you know what? They might as well buy a computer in a lot of ways. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce WebTV. And WebTV is embodied here in our trial unit. These are the boxes that we have in hundreds of homes throughout the country right now. And it's really simple to hook up. You do is you take the video cable, hook it up to the video, the audio to the audio, snap it to a phone line, and then you press the on button on the remote control. I'm sure you've seen one of these things before. Okay, that's all it takes. In fact, we also have to turn on the TV. You just do is start this up. I find it interesting that it takes TVs longer to come up than it takes WebTV. But anyways, what you're hearing now is the music as WebTV is connecting. And you notice you're not hearing the sound of a phone dialing. You're not hearing weird modem squealing sounds and boinging sounds and so forth. All right, this is a consumer product. You don't need to know how it's connecting. It just works. Okay, no matter where WebTV is, you hook it up to a phone line anywhere. It figures out what phone number it's supposed to call, a local number, and it connects. It's all automatic. It's that simple. And you also notice that we have animation. You know, TV sets are things that have moving images and sound. Okay, computers are, they tend to be task-oriented machines. They tend to have still things that are quiet. All right, so we've repackaged the internet to be designed for this type of medium. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what WebTV is. And by the way, this is our homepage. So by the way, you'll get a really great demo of this thing in just a minute. So I'm not going to show too much. But I did want to talk about what the WebTV product is. WebTV is two things. It's a reference design, and it's the WebTV network. Okay? The WebTV reference design is embodied in this unit here. It's the hardware and software that we've designed. And it actually incorporates 5 different features that I'd really like to talk about. For one thing, despite the fact that WebTV will be the least expensive device you'll be able to buy at a consumer electronics store this fall to browse the internet, it so happens it'll be one of the highest performance systems. WebTV has a 112 megahertz, 64-bit MIPS R4000 processor with digital signal processing extensions. And if you don't know what that means, let me tell you, it's a very high-performance CPU. It's a no-compromise CPU. In fact, you may have heard Nintendo talking about the new Nintendo 64 video game that will be introduced this fall, and about how it has an extremely high-performance processor. Our device outperforms it. WebTV also has an extremely sophisticated video output technology. The people in the booth upstairs and in San Francisco, and any of you who are in the broadcast industry, know what D1 class video is. D1 is reference standard video. It doesn't get any better than that. Digital D1 decks, you might have a couple of them at CNN or NBC. They use it for their master tapes. And usually, most production is done in lower quality formats. WebTV only produces D1 class video. That's it. Okay? Actually, every time I've designed something in the past, it's been something less than perfect video. And I've always had to explain how much less. So this time, I don't have to explain it. It just does it. The other thing we've designed is a technology called TV lens technology. If you just take a computer output and put it on a TV, it flickers, it's hard to look at, and so forth. What we do is very sophisticated image processing, actually very similar processing to that which is done to enhance satellite image photos in real time. And what it does is it not only stabilizes the image, but it makes a razor-sharp image even on a very low-end TV. And I'm not joking about that. We have a 1963 RCA Victor TV in our office. It's great. It's in this wooden console and everything. Just for fun, we put WebTV on it. It works. Okay? And of course, if you happen to have a high-end TV, it takes advantage of every bit of the resolution of the system. So it's really pretty wonderful. As far as communication goes, I'm sure you've heard of something called a 28.8 kbit per second modem. That's the state-of-the-art modem. Well, WebTV runs faster than that. It has a 33.6 kbit per second modem. You may not have heard about that. It's a standard that's going to be introduced to the PC world this fall. And all WebTV systems include that capability. And WebTV also has very sophisticated technology in it for improving the experience as far as the user interface and navigation. We have some of the best user interface designers in the world who have worked on the system, and they've made it so that it's designed to be used from 12 feet away, not 12 inches away. And basically, all you really need to know how to do is use this remote control. And the other part of WebTV is the WebTV network. And the WebTV network is an online service that provides a front end to the internet. It essentially packages the internet. Now, it's one thing to build a wonderful box like this with all this multimedia technology, et cetera, and then throw someone into the internet and say, OK, have fun. The internet is a pretty complicated thing. It really was designed for engineers and scientists 30 years ago. And what WebTV does is it puts a shell so everything is simple. For example, this directory here, the WebTV directory. It's a guide that catalogs thousands of sites on the internet. So all you got to do is go to a subject area and click on it, and there you are. If you're interested in sports, you click on sports. And suppose you're interested on rowing, you click on rowing. It takes you all different sites on the internet that have that sort of subject. You're interested in finance, you click on investing, and then on stocks, and then quotes, and off you go. You get information about that. You almost never have to type. There is an optional infrared keyboard that you can get with the system, if you'd like, but one's not necessary. And even if you do have a keyboard, it's very rare that you have to use it. The other thing about WebTV is that we realize that although WebTV can connect you to the world, you can go to the Louvre and browse the museum there, a lot of what people are interested in is local information. Wherever WebTV is, it knows where it is, and what it does is it organizes local sites for you. So if you just want to find out the schedule of the local museum, great, you click on it, it takes you there. You find out what the traffic patterns are, you can find out. You want to find out what schedules for a train are, et cetera. And the other thing that's very important about WebTV is WebTV sits next to your TV in the family room where everyone can reach it. And believe me, if you've got kids, they're going to pick up that remote control and they're going to have fun with it. Okay? And we have built-in kid-safe technology, and we're using the premier filtering technology called SurfWatch in order to make sure that when kids use it, they don't get in trouble. You can have up to 5 accounts on WebTV, each with its own personal internet address, and a parent can set up an account to be a child's account. You set it for G mode or PG-13 mode. And when the child uses the WebTV, they can't get into trouble. There's another neat technology we developed. Most people in the United States have a single phone line, and about 60% of them have call waiting. Now, if you're using your typical online service on a PC, when you're connected, it ties up your phone line. In fact, you turn off call waiting because a disruption would mess up the modem. WebTV has a patented technology called line share technology. Line share technology, if you have call waiting, allows WebTV to be interrupted when you're using it. Basically what happens if you're browsing the web and a call comes in, a little message comes up and says, you have a call. WebTV hangs up the phone, it lets an extension phone ring, and when you're done with the call, you hang up, WebTV picks up exactly where it left off. And parents will be very happy to know that if in fact their children, they set up a child's account, the children are not allowed to turn off line share technology. Turns out to be an important thing. Suppose your kid comes home from school, you need to get through an emergency. Okay? Another very important thing about WebTV is our ISO smart card slot. You may have been hearing about the Olympics that Visa has these what are called cash cards available, which are these credit cards with little chips inside of them. And in fact, Visa and MasterCard is making Visa and MasterCards with the little credit card things in them. And also Bank of America and Citibank are making bank cards that way. And basically, these cards are regular credit cards, and you just stick them in here, and then you can do a transaction. Okay, you can purchase something, you can check your bank balance, you can pay your bills. Some people think paying bills is the killer app. I don't know. But certainly it's going to simplify things for a lot of people. And the last thing, which in some ways might be the most interesting thing, is that WebTV has a full-featured email system. It's fully compatible with internet email so that you can send mail or receive mail from anywhere. But the other thing about it is we have multimedia extensions. You can send pictures and sound. That's a pretty neat thing if your family lives far away and you want to take a picture of the kids or something and send it to them. And so with that, I just wanted to summarize. There's 2 parts to WebTV. There's the reference design, which is licensed to our consumer electronics partners, and then they go package it in the particular way they want to. And then we have the WebTV network, which is the online system that, that essentially wraps a friendly face around the internet and makes it very simple. Now, as wonderful as this technology is, and it certainly is a fun thing to use, you'll see in a second, if you go and just introduce a product to the world, and it's an unknown brand that people don't trust, obviously it's not something that can be very successful. So one thing we decided very, very early on in the development of WebTV is we wanted to partner with the finest firms in the world who would then license the WebTV reference design technology and sell the products under their own label. And the first two partners we've connected with are partners that their names are synonymous with quality. They are the top firms when it comes to innovation, and they certainly are very, very powerful marketing forces in the consumer electronics world. And I'm very proud to announce that Sony and Philips are the first licensees of WebTV Network. And you'll be hearing from representatives from Sony and Philips shortly. One thing I'd like to say, though, is that we've been keeping this thing secret for quite some time. In fact, considering the usual leaks we have in Silicon Valley and people that are wandering by our office to hack into our high-speed connection to the internet, and we won't talk about that. But anyways, we managed to keep this thing secret and quiet all this time. And it's actually quite a relief to finally be able to tell everyone about the great relationship we've had with these companies. The Sony and Philips both have just been outstanding. The caliber of the people that we've had an opportunity to work with is right up there with the kind of caliber of the people that we have at WebTV, and we have some really great folks there. And I don't think it would have been possible for us to deliver a product nearly as quickly or the sort of quality that we've been able to do thus far. And I think the best of it's going to come out when you see what we've got in store this fall with the marketing plans and joint development that we plan to do with Sony and Philips. So with that, I think you've heard enough about the concept, and we're going to get to do something we've been waiting a very, very long time to do, and that's to finally show you the system. Before we do that, I'd like to recognize, I think it's 83 right now, I was just told, about 83 people that we've got back in Palo Alto, California, who have been literally working night and day to get this thing done, and with incredible diligence and incredible creativity, and to get this product out in the form it is, not just something which is usable and so forth, but something that's inexpensive and something that's delivered on time and something that's safe and reliable. And you'll be meeting the three founders, and I'd like, Phil Goldman, as I said, is in San Francisco. I'd like to now introduce Bruce Leak. And Bruce Leak is a person I've had the privilege to work with for about a decade now, and we've created some pretty cool technologies in the past that are past lives, but I'll have to say something that this is the neatest thing we've ever had a chance to work on together. So, Bruce.
Thank you, Steve. You make it all sound quite good. Fortunately, I'm the one that gets to give the demo and actually show off the great work that the people who are with us in San Francisco have worked so hard on. Once again, I'm going to connect to the WebTV network. I've pressed the green button on the remote control that says Web. And fortunately, since our system was designed around a living room experience, I'm going to take advantage of the soft seating here and make sure I use it the way the manual specifies, with at least 2 pillows behind my back. And at a comfortable distance. As Steve mentioned, early on it was obvious to us that regardless of how much technology we put into the box itself, that wasn't sufficient to deliver the internet to the consumer audience, and that the service was going to be key to that. And we started on the service at the same time we started on the box. And the service really has 2 very important pieces. The first is the most obvious one. It's just reliable internet access. We like to say it just works. And not only is it reliable, but it's also high speed and works anywhere in the United States, anywhere there's a telephone and a phone line, a television and a phone line. But the second piece of WebTV service is just as important, and that's helping customers navigate the web and helping them find content that is relevant to them and making it easy to find that content. Because regardless of how easy we deliver the consumer to the internet, we need to be able to help them find things that are useful and relevant in their daily lives. As Steve mentioned earlier, it's all based around the remote control. We had the freedom to start from scratch with this product because it is a consumer product and it's very focused on delivering one concept to the user. We had the freedom to redesign the user interface of internet browsing to work well in the family room and on the television, and to work at a distance so that internet browsing can be done in a shared environment with your family And actually one where you can lean back, like I'm doing, as opposed to hunched over a PC with a keyboard, probably in your home office by yourself. Personally, I actually enjoy demoing the product because it's a relaxing experience. It's not very stressful at all. And it's very simple. If we can get the web up onto the main screen so I can show how easy it is to navigate, it's very simple. By pushing the down button on the remote control and pointing at the WebTV box, the selection on my television moves down a notch, and moving up, I can go to the right, and it's all very much as you would expect. Once again, I'll show it to you on the big screen. Moving down follows the icons, moving up, moving to the right, goes across. And we feel that it's very intuitive. We've spent a lot of hours of user testing, usability testing, and in-field trials refining our user interface. And I think that you'll see as I go through the demo that things are fairly intuitive and very straightforward, and most everything is just a few clicks away. Let me describe a little bit about the home page. The home page is very important to our users. It's their launching point into the internet. It's a place where they save their favorites, where they save places on the internet that are important to them, that they need to be able to get back to very quickly. And it's also the place at the center of their communication with their email on the right side. As Steve mentioned, one of the big draws of the internet is the wealth of content out there. But that can also be a difficulty for new users of the internet because there's so many choices. So one of the very important things that we did right at the beginning was create an internet directory that categorizes all of the internet sites across the world and just takes the best of them and places them in categories that we feel are familiar to a television viewing audience and with a user interface that is easy to navigate. Here I've gone into the directory. I'm checking out the entertainment section. And underneath the entertainment section, which is actually a fairly full section because we feel that entertainment is going to be an important category for our users, I'm going to look at the TV-based sites, somewhat relevant for this day in TV history, and go ahead and look at the popular shows categories. Now, as you'll notice in the popular shows categories, there are icons for the different sites. The site I would like to show you today is the Friends site. It's the site that NBC uses to promote the very popular television show Friends. And one of the reasons I like this site is that it's actually very basic. It clearly was designed for a computer. It has a significant amount of text that describes the cast, their background, the plot of the show. But additionally, they have some thumbnails, imagery of the cast that are stored as JPEG images on the NBC site.
They want to look at the Friends site right now.
I think NBC has a very popular site, it looks like. And let me describe a few things about the user interface of our browser while this page is coming in. In the far right-hand corner of the screen, you can see a little gauge that tells you that information is coming in that lets you know that the page has not completed yet. That gauge also tells you that the phone line is in use, and so that you know that the phone line in your house is now busy because you're web browsing. There's also a light on the box that tells you that for very quick reference. Even if you're not using the box, if you've switched over to television, you can tell whether the box is using your phone line. Additionally, at the bottom of the screen is the name of the site, NBC Primetime Friends. And next to the status bar in the far right corner, you can see a green scroll arrow has just shown up, which tells me that there's more information down below. And if I push the scroll down button on the remote control, it'll scroll down by an entire page. Now, if instead I were to push the link button, just the navigation arrows, it'll just go to the next link on the page. Commonly in a web browser with a mouse, you end up pointing at everything on the screen and deciding whether you can click on it by pointing at it and seeing whether it's going to allow you to go somewhere. Here, just by pressing the right arrow, it moves to the next link on the screen, and if there isn't a link, it just scrolls down to reveal more of the page. So one thing I like to do is follow one of these thumbnails of the cast to show you what a JPEG image looks like on the screen. I think you'll notice that the text is very legible. For a television set, usually the skeptics, the first thing they say is, yes, the internet would look great on the television because, sure, images are designed to look good on the television, but text is just a non-starter. There's no way to make text look good on the internet. And I think Steve and I knew that right off the bat, that this was going to be a barrier, and worked very hard with, and I think that as you'll be able to see in the hands-on demo later, that we've succeeded in making text very, very legible. And this is a very key differentiating point for the WebTV technology.
One comment I'd like to make, you see in some of the brick behind them, you see the little details in there and so forth. If this were anything other than a D1 class video image, you would not be able to see those particular details. In fact, we had to bring in a very high quality projector here to be able to realize all of the detail that this little device that is probably one of the least expensive video devices that you can buy is producing.
Thanks, Steve. Additionally, this is actually, I can still use the scroll arrows. This image is actually bigger than the screen. I can scroll down to, look at what footwear is popular in the Friends show. Another thing that we found in user testing is that our customers often feel that they are the first one to ever have found this website, and they feel compelled to share it with their friends. Fortunately, in this environment, you can easily share it with your family, but additionally, since we have communication technology in the box, you can share it with your friends through the internet email capabilities. So let me show you how to do that. There's a button on the remote control called Options that slides up some additional controls that we feel are commonly used by our customers when surfing the web. And these are designed so that they look like they're just an extension of the buttons on your television for controlling the internet. One of the most common ones that people use, and it's a fairly unique feature for us, is the Send feature. All you have to do is move over to it and select it, and it takes the address of this site and puts it into an email message. And if you had the address of somebody you would want to send it to on the internet, you could send it with just one more click. Now, if you commonly send things, you'll probably put people's names in your address book. So I'll bring up mine. Has a list of people I often send things to. And I'll send this one off to a friend of mine, Bill Clinton, who I'm sure is a fan of the Friends television show. But maybe he hasn't seen this particular shot of the cast. So it fills in the address automatically. You notice that I'm doing this without actually typing. I'm just using the remote control, and it's very simple. I'm not like, hunched over. And I'm going to just go ahead and send this off to him, and maybe later, if he's not busy, he'll respond and tell us what he thinks about that message. In addition to being able to send things, it's also important, let me go back to the options bar, it's also important to be able to save them for your own personal later reference. And so we made that a very easy operation as well. You notice here on the Save panel that there's a thumbnail of the page just for your reference to help you remember when you go back to your favorites. We'll go there in a few minutes what the site looked like that you saved. And I'll go ahead and save this one as well, mainly because I like the little animation of the treasure chest, which reminds you that it's going into your favorites list on your home page. So at this point, there's only one other button on the remote control for web browsing that I haven't used. So just for completeness, I'd like to use it now. And it's called the Recent button. And what it does is it allows our users to understand how they got to where they are. Now, there's a Home button on the remote control, so people can always get back to home in case they get lost. But if you've wandered down a path, it's often nice to understand how you got there and to be able to back up to the NBC site or to the popular shows site in our directory, or even all the way back to the home page. And this just gives a visual roadmap of the sites that you've recently been to. We found this has been very useful for our customers in our trials. So let's go ahead and go back home and take a look at at my favorites. So you notice I have a stock quote service, so I can quickly check some stocks, a kids home page, some information about the games in Atlanta. This is actually a daily that comes out and tells you what events are happening each day. It also has several cameras around Atlanta that show you live pictures of what the weather looks like in Atlanta today. And then here's the shot of the Friendscast, little thumbnail-sized icon that is there for my use in the future. Another thing that Steve would be very unhappy if I didn't show you is the little application that we have called the Weblitzer, which is actually simply a web page that has MIDI resources under it, like many web pages out there do. Let me go ahead and show you how easy it is to play a MIDI song from our web browser. Now, one of the exciting things about this is that not just the quality of the sound output, which I often find Steve listening to late at night in his hotel room. You might want to ask him about that sometime. But just how simple it is to play music over the internet with our device. If you were using a PC or some other solution, you'd have to have a sound card. It'd have to be configured to understand how to use your MIDI device. And it actually becomes very complicated. But to have it all built in and turnkey, and we feel that music is very important to the experience, so much so that we're adding an application to allow you to pick music that you use as background music for surfing the web, to make it a much more family and an entertaining experience than the very quiet part that you hear that you're accustomed to on the computer. It turns out that even Internet Explorer has an HTML tag that allows people to put background music, and some people do. And I think that with the advent of WebTV, more people will use MIDI music on the background of their sites just to add some flavor.
Bruce, I just want to say a couple things about music. He's right. I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. I love it. MIDI is Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and what it actually is a description of notes. What happened in the couple of seconds after he pressed the button before the music started was a whole sheet of music came down. And if we could bring up the volume on this just a little bit, I'd like you to hear the quality. It's CD quality, 16-bit stereo. That's all we generate. This piano is being synthesized in real time entirely in software. There is no sound chip in this system. There's no sound card. This is our processor ticking along, modeling this instrument. And the reason we're showing you a piano, if you ever go to buy a synthesizer at a store, always try out the piano. And the reason is, if you're trying to model a bore instrument, like a clarinet or a trumpet or a trombone, what you do is you just digitize one of the notes and you can change the pitch. It sounds pretty good. A stringed instrument like a piano is very difficult, because if you hit one string, the other strings nearby resonate, right? So the sound at the lower end of the piano is very different than the sound at the upper end of the piano. So to have a computer actually model that and synthesize it in real time is very, very difficult. So we're particularly proud of this. WebTV can synthesize 128 tonal instruments and 84 percussion instruments, all in real time. Okay, I had my say. I had my say.
Let me go back to the home page. Fortunately, there's only one remote control for this particular device. So I've gone and I've shown you how the directory organizes the vast amount of content across the web and categorizes it into categories that we feel are relevant. Additionally, although it's quite exciting to be able to find things around the world, we find that in day-to-day, the true utility comes from being able to access things within 10 miles of your home. And many times our users are surprised to find how much stuff is available on the internet that is locally based content. And so we actually have a directory dedicated to just information that is local to where you are. And this is the New York area. And we have such things as your local schools and libraries, local government, community, sports clubs, and of course the local yellow pages. If you wanted to order pizza, ordering pizza from a pizza parlor nearby is much more interesting than ordering one from Chicago, unless you really like Chicago pizza, or maybe even Bangladesh. So let's go back to the home page. So in addition to finding content worldwide, content nearby, a search engine is a very common tool on the internet, and we've partnered with one of the premier vendors of search technology on the internet, Excite, because we felt that they were able to deliver the most user-friendly search engine to our customer. And this allows people to find things on the web that are focused very much at their particular interests. So Steve would search for, MIDI or Philo T. Farnsworth. Actually, let me go try the Philo T. Farnsworth and show off our wonderful keyboard accessory. Fortunately, I know how to spell philo with PH. Let's go ahead and do a search with Excite. And you'll find that the web knows a lot about Philo T. Farnsworth, quite surprisingly, because I'd never heard of him until yesterday when Steve mentioned him in his talk. And one of the sites talks about the prehistory of television. There's quite a wealth of information about Philo and his invention called television. Once again, let's go back to the home page. So we've seen 3 ways of finding information on the web. There's actually a 4th way that's becoming more and more common, and it's when you're reading a news magazine article, they'll put a URL in there with an address for a website. And even more common on the television today, if you're watching an ad, Toyota.com commonly advertises their URL. Or even at the end of a television show, they'll have a URL for more information about a particular topic. So we also thought that was a very important feature, and we put that as well on the options bar. So let me show you our go-to panel. It's very simple. And if you don't have the keyboard accessory, it's fairly easy to use the software keyboard on screen to type in a URL. Let's, for example, go to CNN to look at their current news page. Now, as Steve mentioned, a very high number of the addresses for websites today is basically www.companyname.com. And in fact, it's so common that we've made a shortcut in our browser so that all you have to do is type in the company name, like CNN, and we'll do the rest for you. So when I go over to the return key, watch very closely, and the address will change to www.cnn.com, and then it'll go ahead and go to that site. It's just a matter of making it easier. It's not, it's nothing that someone else couldn't figure out. But it's very focused on our customers. One great thing about the CNN site is they update it very commonly. About every 10 minutes, they have new information on it. And I haven't looked at it recently. It looks like, once again, this site is also going to be very popular. Maybe too popular.
We'll come back to we were just on CNN, and I think everyone saw it and said, we got to check this out.
We'll come back to this in a minute. There's actually a more compelling piece that I'd like to show you, which is fundamental to the WebTV service, which is communication. We've looked at a lot of information and entertainment seeking, and we've sent some email, but receiving is oftentimes more interesting than giving. Let's go ahead and look inside our mailbox, and you'll also notice that on the front of the box, there are 3 lights. And it's very important those lights are very important, and that's why they're there. The first light, the green light, is the power light that lets you know the box is on. It's related to the green power button on the remote control. The next light, the yellow light, lets you know that the phone line is in use. And the third light, we think, is the most important. It's the red light that tells you you have mail. And this feature, we feel, it turns the internet mail experience more into an answering machine experience. You walk by your terminal, the red light is on, you say, oh, I have mail, let me go check. And in fact, I have 2 interesting pieces of mail here. I have one good luck wish from a friend, but I also have a piece from somebody named Autoresponder. Here, let me check out exactly who Autoresponder is.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, that's quite interesting. There's someone at whitehouse.gov named Autoresponder, and they sent me a very personal message explaining that President Clinton, via electronic mail since June 1993, has received over 1 million messages. Just wait until we have a large number of WebTV boxes out there. How many messages do you think Bill Clinton's going to receive? So one of the exciting things about this is that it's a full-featured internet email experience, but it's very easy to use. If I can use the same keys the same remote control that I use for web browsing, I can scroll down to look at the rest of the message. I can understand that Stephen K. Horn is the director of presidential email, and I was asking myself this morning, who is the director of presidential email, and how can I get that job? Now, the page buttons will scroll by a whole page. This is quite a long message. Fortunately, it's electronic, and we're not wasting government resources on paper and postage here. So they explain that there are 3 public email addresses: president@whitehouse.gov, vice president@whitehouse.gov, and first lady at whitehouse.gov. I guess Tipper Gore doesn't rate. The other very exciting thing, though, from my point of view, is that there are actually links here in this email that came from the White House. And one of the most interesting ones, of course, is the link to the White House homepage itself. So let's go ahead and follow that. The way that many individuals have homepages today, even Bill Clinton and his cat Socks are publishing themselves on the World Wide Web. I guess they're also taking advantage of the fact that it's a very cheap medium to publish information on, and using our tax dollars wisely. Let me go ahead and scroll down. Actually, my favorite piece of this, besides the picture of Bill and Al, is the White House for Kids. I don't know if you guys have spent much time there, but it's actually quite a fun site. It's hosted by Socks, the Socks the cat. And if you get a chance in the hands-on demo later, I really suggest that you check it out. Let's go ahead and go back home. And I've spent some time showing what the basic experience is like and how easy it is to get up and running on the WebTV service. But now I'd like to actually go to some videotape of our trial customers who have used this much longer than me and let you hear what they have to say about it. Thank you.
WebTV is the easiest to use internet web access that I've seen.
Definitely easy to navigate. I've gotten to the point where I can just operate the remote control without looking.
If you can point a remote control and push an arrow sign and push return, you're there. It's easy.
It's making the internet accessible to generations of people that wouldn't use computers.
Another thing that makes WebTV so easy is the simplicity of hooking it up.
When I want to be online in a relaxing environment, obviously WebTV in the living room works a lot better than the PC in the office.
I think WebTV will maybe take the kids out of the bedroom or the playroom and bring us all into one room a little bit more.
Can't you imagine the wealth of information that you can get by sitting in your living room?
Your home theater is now going to be your home information center. It's going to be the place where you go for entertainment, for information, to relax, to communicate. It's going to be the place, it's going to become the center of the household.
It's reasonable, it's affordable. Average family may not be able to afford a computer.
Using WebTV has just been a fun thing for me, and I'm just very excited about it.
I would definitely recommend WebTV to friends, family, anybody. I'm dying to tell the world about it.
A key element to the future success of WebTV is our alliance with our first consumer electronics licensees, Sony Electronics and Philips Consumer Electronics Company. These two organizations are among the top tier of consumer electronics companies. Their reputation for innovation, strong brand name, and broad consumer following complements the mass market appeal that WebTV has been designed for. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Bonin, Vice President of New Business Development for the Consumer Audio and Video Group of Sony Electronics. Jim is responsible for evaluation, development, and introduction of new audiovisual businesses in the United States. Jim, welcome.
Thank you, Chip, and good morning, good afternoon. On behalf of Sony Electronics, it's my pleasure to be with you today. I'd also like to express my personal thanks to our hosts from WebTV Networks, as well as give a special greeting to Ed Volkwine and his colleagues from Philips Electronics. As most of you know, Sony has recently embarked upon an ambitious effort that is designed to support the ongoing convergence between audio, video, computer, and communication technologies. In fact, many of you may have attended the press conference to announce our personal computer at PC Expo a few weeks ago in New York. At Sony, the concept of convergence, or AVCC as we call it, extends beyond personal computers to encompass a variety of intelligent consumer electronic products. At Sony, it is our intention to pursue both ends of this spectrum. It also suggests why our relationship with WebTV Networks has the potential to become such an important one. Over the past year, Sony has been working closely with WebTV Networks in a number of areas, tapping our experience developing consumer AV products. We have provided our expertise in product design and technology, as well as in defining the basic business model. So in essence, this event represents not just a beginning, but an anniversary. Even more significantly, we're excited about WebTV's prospects, because thanks to this creative group of Silicon Valley technologists, consumers are about to experience what we believe will be the first practical television-based internet access device specifically designed for the mass market. Rarely has a technology or phenomenon received as much attention and commercial support as the World Wide Web, while remaining such a mystery to a majority of consumers. As a result, there's a vast group of consumers who are anxious to find out what all the fuss is all about, to get up to date and not be left behind. Some of these consumers are put off by the complexity and high costs associated with personal computer, which until now has been required to access the web. We believe that these consumers will make up a large part of the initial customer base for web TV-based products. For while the World Wide Web could not exist without the PC, it's a concept that cannot reach its full potential without the TV. In short, Web TV's technology will help us create a new category of TV peripheral products that will be essential for turning this potential into reality. But the World Wide Web is only the beginning. As many of you know, electronic mail or email is not just used for office communications anymore. It's also created a dramatic resurgence in the art of informal, written, and personal communication. Imagine being able to send a quick note to your parents, your relatives, or your friends as easily as you currently email correspondence to your coworkers. Well, soon we'll be able to do this as easily and economically as Bruce just showed you from the couch. There's been much speculation about the potential market for intelligent television. We believe that Web TV will answer those questions in very short order. In closing, I hope each of you will come to share the excitement that Sony has already experienced with the Web TV team. And in the near future, we hope to meet with you again and outline in detail our product, marketing, and introduction plans for the Sony Web TV product that will be introduced later this fall. So as they say in television land, stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Ed Volkwine. Ed is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Sales and Marketing for Philips Consumer Electronics Company. Ed is a master at consumer marketing and came to Philips from Sega of America, where he marketed industry-leading video game products. He also served as Vice President of Marketing at Prince, a leading manufacturer of tennis equipment. Ed?
Good to be here with such an august group. It helps us keep our caliber up, I think, as Steve said. Well, this is a great day for consumers, and Philips is more than proud to be part of it. What we are witnessing here is a giant first step in the convergence of two great but separate mass media, offering consumers a world of information and entertainment. Magnavox Web TV joins television with the internet. It marries the fastest growing and most exciting mass medium of today with the consumer's favorite mass medium of all times. Best of all, it does it now. While others are still delivering vague promises about the future, Philips will be delivering Magnavox Web TVs to the shelves of retailers this fall. The immensely popular and fast-growing internet has grown and prospered despite severe limitations on affordability and ease of use. Up until now, the consumer has needed an expensive computer and special software to access the internet. Now all you need is the Magnavox Web TV solution. It is a consumer product, not a technology product, and it is targeted at the consumer market. research tells us that there are 40 million households waiting for the Magnavox Web TV right now. These folks tell us they want to share in the fun and excitement of the internet, but they don't plan to buy a PC. The Magnavox Web TV will be a totally new learning and discovery experience for these consumers and countless others. The internet itself is moving into the mass market arena, with services appealing to non-technical consumers and family audiences. But the missing ingredient has been an easy-to-use product that delivers the internet in a fun, friendly, and interactive environment. The solution is here now with Magnavox Web TV. I was part of a similar breakthrough product the last time I was associated with a net. The introduction of the Prince large-head tennis racket made it easier to get balls over a tennis net, just as Magnavox Web TV makes it easier for consumers to get on the internet. Well, Magnavox Web TV fits perfectly with our line of color televisions and with the Magnavox commitment to our Fuse business strategy: friendly, useful, smart, and easy-to-use consumer television products. We understand the consumer market, and we have access to the right retail channels. We expect that consumer electronics retailers will sell the Magnavox Web TV product alongside televisions and VCRs, and we will back them up with an aggressive, world-class marketing plan. This marriage of television and the internet is a natural merger of media made for each other. In some ways, it is comparable to the linking of sound to vision in the talking motion pictures of the 1920s. Today, it is hard for the consumer to imagine a motion picture any other way. We at Philips project a future where it will be hard for the consumer to imagine a television set without internet capability. Magnavox Web TV will set the standard for consumer access to the internet with its ease of use and affordability. For example, access to the internet is as easy as connecting the Magnavox Web TV to any television and standard telephone line. And Magnavox Web TV provides an exciting internet experience with high-resolution pictures and flicker-free performance on any set. That's flicker-free. It's clear that the internet truly opens up a new world of information. This internet excitement is rapidly multiplying, and more consumers want the product now. The Magnavox Web TV will be on retail shelves this year. By year's end, Magnavox Web TV will be bringing American families online. Large screen clarity and flicker-free performance on television screens in living rooms and family rooms will transform the online experience from a solitary pursuit to a shared social activity. Family members and friends will join in the many wholesome activities that the internet offers: reading email from friends and relatives, sampling vacation destinations, gathering information for family and education projects. Magnavox Web TV will be the smart, easy, and friendly way to be online. Magnavox Web TV will make the family television set smarter and more useful than ever before. It is an affordable, mass-market priced, powerful option that transforms an ordinary TV from a passive medium to a participative, interactive medium. The Magnavox Web TV is another example of how Philips is taking the lead in consumer electronics industry by making digital dreams a reality. The internet continues to grow faster than anyone could have imagined even a year ago, and now it is on the verge of taking on a larger and even more dynamic role in the way we live. Consumers have reason to celebrate the marriage of this innovative internet technology with their own television sets. Philips is intensely proud to be playing a key role in bringing Web TV to the consumer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. WebTV Networks was founded in 1995 with a mission to make the internet accessible and relevant to the broader consumer market. Well, today we've seen WebTV's ability to connect the consumer to the internet easily, fast, and technologically in a seamless way. Today we've seen how internet content can be aggregated and presented in a way that's relevant, engaging, and meaningful to the mass consumer. We've seen how we can give electronic mail capabilities to virtually every household in America. We've seen how the television will become the communication center that brings the internet into the homes of the mass market. And finally, we've seen the support of consumer electronics partners like Sony and Philips, two great companies committed to bringing high-quality, innovative products to a broader marketplace. We're working together with all of our partners. We look forward to this next great event in television, WebTV. Thank you. Now what I'd like to do is allow you to ask a few questions in the time that we have remaining. In addition to the Q&A session, there'll be an opportunity for all of you to get hands-on experience with the product. And we'll also be serving a light lunch for those that are hungry and have their stomachs growling. First, I'd like to ask Steve Perlman, Bruce Leak, Jim Bonin, and Ed Volkwine to join me on the stage, and we can handle and field as many questions as possible. Guys? I'd like to ask, when you ask your questions, if you could please direct the question to the member of the team that you have intended the question for, and if you wouldn't mind, state what your affiliation is so that we know who you are as well. Okay? Great. First, everybody ready? All right, right in the center here. Yes, please.
Asking about the smart card slot, I'm interested in the banking applications of this television, and I'm wondering if this is solely for use with existing credit cards that you would use to purchase items on the internet, or if it's something you could also use for a stored value card of the future. You mentioned the ones that are being used at the Olympics. If you went into your bank account and downloaded some cash onto a card.
It actually does both. It's an ISO smart card slot. And the exact same, you can actually download cash into a stored value card. You can purchase things with a credit card, with a debit card. Potentially, if you want to give your teenager a $25 budget, you could get a $25 card, and that's it.
Great. Next question? Right here in the front again, I'm sorry.
How much?
How much, I'm sorry?
How much will it cost?
Oh, the device. The question probably should be directed to our consumer electronic partners.
Speaking from Philips, we will certainly be glad to share that with you at a separate venue where we can have a little more privacy, as much as I like Jim.
And we'll be doing about the same thing at a location that we won't disclose to Ed. So, but we do intend to be making an announcement later this summer to have all that information.
Down here, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good question for Bruce. Maybe you also could repeat the question since it wasn't on the mic.
The question was, how do we deal with the new class of integrated voice and data, I believe, over the phone line? Well, I mean, internet telephony is a form of communication. And as the standards evolve for that in a digital form, we're very excited about participating in that. And we think it's going to be important, phone line chat. And clearly, there's going to be some need for an accessory for a microphone. And there are some considerations of whether you want to do that with a headset or whether with a speakerphone technology. But either that's in terms of getting information in, that would be an accessory in the future, or a different version depending on what the licensees want to build to solve that customer need.
Part about the lack of a visible email address for sending and receiving anything more than web pages, and also about the watching TV while browsing the web. Okay,
I'm not sure I understand the question exactly. Each user of the box has a full internet email address. They can specify what they want it to be under the WebTV domain. There can be up to 5 accounts, so you can have named accounts for your kids if that's important to you, or you can decide as a parent not to give them email addresses if that's important to you. So it's a full internet email experience. You can compose letters using the keyboard. I'd highly recommend a hardware keyboard if you want to do a significant amount of email. We actually think it's an important part of the experience, and you'll see in the hands-on demo that we have television actually piped into the unit so that you can go back and forth. And it's important to be able to do that. I just didn't think I had time in the demo on screen to show that.
We're going to take a question from San Francisco.
Patrick McKenna from Newsbytes News Network. Mr. Perlman, could you outline, please, the internet access providers and how many local access numbers you'll have available?
We have a relationship that we just announced with Concentric Network, and they're one of the internet access providers that our system will use. The access provision is actually hidden from the customer. What happens is the device, when you say you want to connect, you press the power button, it goes and finds what it thinks will be the best internet access in your area. In fact, if that access provider is busy, it will go to another one. So the notion of internet access as we know it in the PC sense of the world, where you're locked into a particular access provider, doesn't exist with WebTV.
Great, thank you. We're going to take one call now from our telephone national audio hookup.
Go ahead with your question. Judith Abrams of Multimedia Week.
Yes, these questions are for the executives from Philips and Sony. Ed, you had mentioned that there are 40 million households just waiting for WebTV who aren't interested in buying computers but do want to get on the internet. I'm wondering if each of you could make any kind of sales projections panning out over the next year and also the next 5 years in terms of unit sales, of how many units of the set-top box you plan to sell or think you can sell.
My number is huge.
I was going to say a lot. We don't typically get into specific sales forecasts.
Great. Over here on this side, please.
Stuart Walpin from Us Magazine. My question concerns the integration of this set-top device with other set-top devices such as existing cable boxes, as well as whether or not this will be compatible or forward compatible once you start seeing a lot more cable modems on the market.
Steve?
Okay, I think it's definitely my question. In fact, you will see our reference design integrated into all sorts of boxes. You'll see it next year integrated into TVs. You'll see it integrated into cable boxes, integrated into satellite receivers. And the other thing, I think you're asking about what are we going to, as far as compatibility with cable modems. One thing we didn't have time to talk about, on the side of the box, you'll find it in the technical specification, is an extremely high-speed expansion port called WebTV port, where you can attach all sorts of things, a cable modem quite easily, an ISDN modem, and a bunch of other accessories that we're going to be showing a little bit more of in a little while. Not here, later this summer.
Ed Rubenstein, Discount Store News. I was just wondering if there were any initial plans, two-tiered question for anyone who would like to respond, if there's initial plans. As you know, TV is a global medium and the World Wide Web is certainly a global medium. Are there plans to create different language versions of this television technology and market this WebTV overseas? Secondly, if there are any plans, and this is a little peripheral to that, to develop partners, retail partners, to actually have conduct electronic commerce from that site or from any of the partners that WebTV might have. So it's kind of a two-tiered.
Bruce, why don't you talk about some of the language capabilities of the device?
But Steve, you love talking about the language capabilities of the device.
Well, not as much as I like talking about the music capabilities. All right. WebTV is fully compatible with all Western European languages right now. So if you got a cedilla in French or a tilde, whatever. So if you go to the Louvre, you can actually see the French as the French was supposed to be written. And we also have kanji working on the system, although we're not going to show that today, which will give you a little bit of hint as to some of the things we're doing internationally. The other thing about WebTV that's very important is we designed the system from the beginning to be compatible with worldwide TV standards. So it supports NTSC, PAL, CCAM. And we've also developed a technology that takes the same internet content and displays it correctly on any of the world TV systems. So you don't need to develop different kinds of technology, different types of content for different TV systems.
We'll take another call from San Francisco.
Jerry Segal, the Nielsen report. Can the WebTV management give us a status report on bank
industry partnering or credit card industry partnering? Do you have anything you can publicly announce at this time?
We are not making any public announcements about any bank industry partners, but you'll be hearing more and more announcements as we go through the summer and the fall.
We have a question from our phone line.
Go ahead with your question, Gary Brickman of Interactive Age.
Hi, I wanted to find out about the browser that you have built. Will your system, how will it be compatible with sites designed for Netscape, Navigator, or Microsoft Internet Explorer? Aren't there going to be compatibility problems with looking at pages designed specifically for those standards?
We actually think, and hopefully you'll get a demo very soon, we think we've done a great job of supporting the kind of disparate standards that Internet Explorer and Netscape have provided. Actually, we do better on some pages because general pages are kind of designed for one or the other, and we have a fairly even distribution of where we pretty much support everything fairly cleanly. It's been our goal moving forward that there's no requirement to reformat your content or to lay it out specifically for WebTV. So we've worked very hard at making sure that existing stuff works today on the WebTV service.
Great. Question right here in the middle.
Anita Hamilton from Time Magazine. I wanted to find out, do you have support for Java, Shockwave, streaming audio, streaming video, and if not, when will you have it?
Sure, I can take that. Basically, we have support today. We have support for the standard image formats and the standard audio formats. We're working with Progressive Networks, and we expect to ship real audio at the first release. Fortunately, our browser is built into Flash ROM, and so it can be upgraded over time as internet standards change and as we're able to add more features. And so we expect to announce support for Java and Shockwave next year, but we don't have it in the first release.
Right, right up here in the middle, lady. Thank you.
Hi, Marge Costello, CE Online News. I have two questions. Steve, first of all, could you discuss the business model and sharing revenues with your consumer electronics partners? That was not mentioned today, but in previous discussions, I know there's going to be revenue sharing. And for Jim and for Ed, Sony and Philips have set up before and been in presentations when new things have been introduced. Is this an indication of any kind of cooperation between Sony and Philips, or are you just two of other companies that you expect will join WebTV?
To answer your first question, the relationship that WebTV has and the details of that relationship with the licensees obviously is confidential. But I do want to say that we've structured the network and the relationship with our licensees so that they have a lot of incentive to continue to promote their devices as they move forward, and also incentive to obviously bring them in with the broadest distribution. And consequently, we have a long relationship going forward after the device is sold, where we continue to participate with the particular licensee. There's an ID chip in each box, so I know that it's a Sony box, I know that it's a Philips box, etc. And I don't know if you want to take the next question.
Well, I think, obviously Sony and Philips are both here. I think that probably has much more to do with who these guys decided to pick as their partners than any overt action on the part of either Sony or Philips. I was frankly surprised by Philips's involvement, and perhaps they were as well.
I just met Jim yesterday for the first time.
It really is the truth. It was really our choice to pick to work with who we saw were the leaders in the consumer marketplace, and we pretty much independently picked Sony and Philips, and didn't really let them know about each other until fairly recently.
Right. It was a very interesting meeting. The other thing I'd like to emphasize is that there are other licensees. Philips and Sony are our founding licensees. And, and the thing that should always be remembered is they work together with us to bring this thing into being. But we are actively working with other licensees, but this is the day for us and Philips and Sony. And you'll be hearing other announcements later this summer and the fall.
Great. I know there are a number of other questions. What I'd like to do is let you know that all of us on the management team will be available to speak with. And probably the best way to answer a number of the questions that are out there today are to have a chance to actually use this product. So what I'd like to do is invite all of you up onto the stage and have a chance to really cruise WebTV and put it to its test.
Thank you very much for coming.
Chris?